Okay, we're taking a look at the game Toulon 1793. It was designed by Andy Loakes and produced by Legion War Games. Came out in 2014. Now, I pre-ordered this game. I really wanted to support it, and I'm very glad that I did. It's a very, very nice piece of work indeed. And in this video, we're going to look at the board, the pieces, the rules a little bit, give you an idea of what this game is all about. Now, I have no hesitation in saying that this is one of the most beautiful war games I've seen in years. Certainly the map is one of the best I've ever seen. Now, the subject, of course, is the Siege of Toulon in 1793. So it's a siege game, not a battle game. And in that sense, it's quite different than other war games we've seen. Now, the map is based on a map produced in, I think it says here, 1848. And Andy has interpreted the terrain very well, and he's turned this period map into a very functional and beautiful looking map. And we'll be taking a closer look in a moment. All of the components in the game are very well done indeed. Now, the rules of play are about 24 pages and quite comprehensive, nice illustrations, and the paragraphs and cases are well laid out. It's quite easy to read and a joy to read. Coming with it is this terrific playbook. And if you don't know about the Siege of Toulon in 1793, you certainly will by the time you've read the playbook and read some of the designer's notes. Andy has done a very good job on the playbook, and it's a nice addition to the game. The charts are simple but very functional. They're extremely colorful. And we'll get to the counters in a moment, but here you see a layout of the counters, what the counters do, leaders, an expanded sequence of play card. It's all mounted on good quality stock, shiny stock, operations points, schedule and costs. There's your combat results table, and you do have combat, and a multitude of other tables for movement attrition, leader casualties, leader capture. And you get a great little battle board, because when forces meet in the same area on the board, you'll go then to a battle board procedure, and there's a very detailed little procedure for that. So components-wise, the booklet, the charts are excellent. And I can't say enough good things about the map. I'm very, very impressed with this map. Now, there's quite a few counters that come with the game. Now, I've sorted them by the turn of arrival, order of appearance. I think it's the most efficient way to sort this game. You get a bag of loss markers here, permanent losses and temporary loss markers, quite a few of those. Here you get these fired, fort, attrition, out of supply, and what we call the informational markers. And it said these are the troops sorted by order of appearance. We're going to zoom in on the counters very soon, and you'll just see how beautiful they are. But before we do that, let's take another look at this terrific map. Okay, for those of you who are not familiar with the general situation, Toulon is a city in the south of France bordering the Mediterranean. And the situation is we have royalist forces here in the city of Toulon, and the Allies, Spanish and British, are landing outside Toulon to aid the Toulonese, and the Republican forces are coming from the east and west and will be laying siege to the town to try and oust them. That's the essential situation. The Republican forces will be coming from this area here and here. So it is a siege situation. And a young, I think it's a Lieutenant or Captain Bonaparte. I forget what his rank is here. But anyway, a young Napoleon is featured at this siege, and this is where he made his mark as a rising star. Now, historically, the Republican forces surrounded the town this way. Okay, and the key point in the siege was when Napoleon established batteries here and captured Fort Aiguillette and Fort Balagnier, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, and that caused the British fleet to leave the Petit Rad here and eventually evacuate. The siege was successful. The Republicans did oust the Allies from it. And that's what this game is all about. Now, the game uses operations points, which keep track of on this little track here. Each nationality has its own little ops marker. Each turn, sides will roll for a certain number of ops, plus or minus some other variables. And as you expend actions on the game, on the board, you expend these ops. So a turn can last, well, a bit of time, because a turn only ends when you're out of ops. And let's say the Spanish have 13 ops and the British have, 6 or something, or the Toulonese have 3. It'll take you a while to do these. So each turn is going to take a little bit of time. So it's not a great interactive game in that sense. You might get these long periods where your opponent is moving troops and you are not. I had mentioned this to Andy in an email, and he graciously replied. We discussed the game a little bit, and I'm very glad that I did correspond with him. He's a nice fellow, by the way, and he's done a lot of work on this game. I can see that. If you want to study the Siege of Toulon, this is certainly your game. And this game will be, I'm sure, the definitive game on the subject for quite a long time. I found the game to be more of a simulation than game. But then, maybe that's just me. But I found when I was playing the game, and I only solitaired it, I did not play it with an opponent yet, but I found that the turn 1 procedure, with the landing, took a little bit of time. Now that's important, the turn 1, because of course that establishes the parameters of the siege. The Allies can land here at this amphibious point here near Fort Marguerite, and then expand out this way and try to make their perimeter outside the town, or they can land at this point here, the debarkation zones, and that takes a while. That's turn 1. The few Republican forces come on over here from this area. And there's only very few counters, 4 or 5, and they will start to move in this way. On turn 2, a whole host of French forces come in, and then the siege starts to expand, and it can go all over the place. I just find that in the playing of the game, one side takes a little while to move, and there's a lot of procedures to the game, quite a lot. The sequence of play is very detailed, very detailed. For example, on turn 1, you're allowed to move 5 strength points of forces at a time. 5 strength points would land. They'd have to expend a number of operations points from their total. In this case, I believe it's 2. They have to pay 1 to disembark and another one to disembark in what they call no man's land, because it's not quite friendly yet. After debarking, the troops then could move inland. They'd still have to pay costs for these roads to reconnoiter these roads. Once they're reconnoitered properly, I should say, you would mark them with a friendly road marker. And then, once the roads are in friendly hands, these units can scoot along the roads and, let's say, enter Toulon. It's a method-heavy way of moving the men, very detailed, but I can't argue with the history of it. It's actually quite accurate. It's just a tad slow for me. And again, for someone who likes this period, and I do like the period too, this may not be a big deal at all. If I had to sum up the game in one sentence or so, I'd say that the game is more simulation than game. But there's still a game here, that's for sure. There's even a scenario where you can start on, I think it's turn 5, and you can set up a perimeter siege around. Starting the game later might make the game go a little faster, I don't know. I don't think it would hurt the simulation. I think you'd still get a very good simulation of the siege. But turn 1 is a little slow, I found, for the Allies. Or I should say that for the French player who has to kind of watch while the Allies do all their move. And conversely, the same thing will almost happen on turn 2, as we watch lots of French units come on the board, and the Allies will try to expand their perimeter too. I don't know if I'm explaining this game right or not. It's quite a unique situation. Siege games are not like battle games, and this game, Toulon 1793, certainly demonstrate that. Let's take a closer look at the counters. Okay, here's a close-up of some of the units, and they are a beauty to behold. Now, the designer has done a great job in showing the limited intelligence aspect of the game. When you're playing the game, most of the time the counters will be face up this way, showing only the nationality. So when troops are posed around the map like that, you're not going to know the exact size of enemy forces, and certainly important in a game like this. Now, hidden intelligence is not new. We've seen that in the hobby for a long time. But I must admit, in this game, it just works out superb. It's very well done. So you kind of move in ignorance of the enemy, because there's so many counters on the board. After a while, you just can't keep track of them all. But when you do get into a combat situation, or if you use spying as one of the options, you flip the counters. And this is where the information is on the other side of the counters. And it's very well laid out, and it's clear, which I really like. Now the counters are all white, which at first I said, uh-oh, white counters, all of them, that's a little scary. But the use of color by the designer is just superb. So the counters are white, but the use of color, red for British, yellow for Spaniards, dark blue for the Republican forces, and you've got some Toulonese units there too. They're kind of green. You can see the combat information. On the left there is the more or less the strength of the unit, and to the right is the quality. C being better than E, A being better than B, and so on. So here, and they have the historical designation of the counters, which is nice. Here's the North Devon Regiment. I guess that's Brigade Company. Here's the 9th Dragoons. The W here for the Republican forces means they are part of the West Force that comes in on the board. So, and there's a myriad of informational counters, all very well done. Ammunition stockpile, victory differential. There's a leader counter, a battle site counter to mark where your battle is, and of course I mentioned the ops counters. And like I said, there's bags, or a bag, of loss marker counters. You've got temporary losses and permanent losses. So there's certainly a lot of counters in the game that'll keep you going. What else can I say about this this game? I should say a word about the operation point schedule, because that's where the game really shines, actually. As I had mentioned, you get a number of operations points, and they vary from turn to turn. And there's some variables. And there's a little chart here giving you the costs to do various things. For example, if you want to influence spying, it costs you an operations point. If you wanted to move to a friendly area, it doesn't cost you any operations points. If you want to go into no man's land, it costs you 1. And into an enemy area, normally costs you about 3. So all these costs add up, and that's the way you burn up operations points. It's a simple but elegant system for moving the men on the board. Let's take a last look here at this just terrific board. There's the city of Toulon. You can see certain forts are marked on it. These are the roads, and these little diamonds indicate areas where you can show possession of the road. For example, this is a friendly road. You can put a little friendly road marker on there to show that you own it. They've got period graphics on there too, showing the British fleets, the bombardment areas. Each of these little areas that has a little wee stack of cannonballs indicates that it can be bombarded from the sea, or from the Petit Rad. And there's the Grand Rad. And the circles with the numbers indicate victory point areas. Overall, like I said, just a beautiful, beautiful map. Heck, if you never even played the game, this would be worth it to just have this thing hang up in your war game room because, like I said, I think it's one of the nicest maps in the industry right now. Should be an industry standard, actually. There's one of the debarkation zones, B, and there's one of the other one, debarkation zone A. I won't say much more about the game. These videos are meant to be just introductory videos. They're not meant to show you the whole game or how it plays or anything like that. In summary, I just want to say that Toulon 1793 is a fine piece of work. It's absolutely beautiful. Anyone who likes sieges of this period is going to like this game. My only reservation, and again this is just me, is that it's more of a simulation than a game. Andy's done a lot of work on this. You can see that. This is been a pet project of his, I'm sure, for a while. And it's a labor of love, and certainly shows it. It's just a fine product. And Legion can be very proud of the way how they've produced this game. It's just, if I was to give Academy Awards for nice looking games for that year, 2014, I would certainly put Toulon in the running. My only reservation is that it is more of a simulation than game. I think there's going to be down periods when your opponent is moving, or you are moving, and your opponent's not going to have a lot to do. Now, I'm not saying that the game should have been designed as a totally interactive game. I don't think it should have. I think I go, you go was the way to go in a siege. I just think that some of the procedures could have been tightened up. In particular, the disruption rules. In a discussion with Andy, I think we kind of agreed that if you were to chuck the disruption rules, the simulation would not suffer. But you'd suffer some realism there too. But other than that, this is one fine game. For me, I don't know if it's a game I would return to too often. I'm wondering now, for me, the best scenario to start would be maybe the turn 5 one. It takes a little longer to set up, but the siege is more established. And maybe then there'd be a little bit more interactivity, I don't know. But you are moving a lot of counters on the board, so that dead time might still exist. So that's all I have to say about Toulon 1793. A very fine effort from Andy Loakes and Legion Wargames. A very nice looking product. Thank you for watching.